Yes, both.
How do you see the initial set of tutorials on users?
How do you
get the initial set of tutorials? Do you do it by yourself?
The plan is to start crawling like tutorials, curate a good tutorials into our site, and only in 2 domains, programming and design. So at the start, we really need to make use of curators, and we intend to do a few soft launches. First, you'll be friends, and after that, people in the community. And I think we really need to nurture like a community of users, and that's what we think is a difficult thing for this product, right?
Essentially, you have a prototype already, right? Can you describe a bit more the reaction to that and the traction you've been getting and so on?
Actually, all of these are mock-up screencasts. We just came out of this idea. I mean, we were doing some travel product a few months ago, and we just totally picked a new idea 2 weeks ago. So this is just a 2 weeks old idea, and we just want to check out like what you think about this idea. Today is more of a proof of concept or validation of concept for us, right? So we don't have a prototype.
It's really weird, you know, in the online ed space, there's a bunch of content aggregators that have not done so well, but also some that are like kind of doing okay. So
Yeah.
for example, Kuriki, K-12 space, right? There's a bunch of content aggregators trying to create marketplaces and create links and so on, and there's a bunch of them around that haven't done so well. Recently, with the rise of massive online classes and so on, you know, the Class Central has been getting some traction and some amount of traffic. It's very strange. So I feel like for some things to describe, you know, Khan Academy currently is amazing for the K-12 space. I don't know people really have questions answering. They want to learn whatever, right, where they want to go. Khan is usually a high enough quality solution. Lynda.com turns out to be a very good solution for Photoshop tutorials. And it's hard to say.
Great. I get what you mean. It's just that as a first-time user, without knowing what's good in the design space, for example, I'm not really sure like whether Lynda.com will fulfill my Photoshop, learning Photoshop needs. So that's the line of argument that we are attacking this problem, right? Yeah, you're right. We're not entirely sure that we are going to gain user traction from this, but all our team members feel that this is a problem. We do not get the right tutorials that we need for a certain need. For example, my friend Ken, he was trying to learn how to install a solid-state drive into MacBook, and he has to go through many links before he finds the right tutorial. And we thought with ratings and reviews, maybe he could get to the right tutorial straight, right?
And I think Google is going to be a very serious competitor, right? So I think this sort of stuff is stuff that Google and Bing would love to do well on.
So we did a checkup on SEO Most. So it's a well-known SEO company in the Bay Area, and there's a white paper talking about how Google works. So apparently, what they did is they surveyed over 100 of SEO experts and surveyed 10,000 keyword search on Google and other search on Google. So one of the key things that they found out is how is the process of selecting the links to put on the Google page is done. So as you can see in the pie chart over here, there's 4 big factors that affect this appearance of the site. And let me read it out. So the first 2 are actually the basic of Google. How many links that is going to this page? What is the link authority in a simple sense? And then the second 2 foremost factor is like what is being said. What is the keyword that's set on the site? However, if you imagine about it, learning is not about keyword. Learning is not about links. For example, if a site has a lot of like social marketing campaign, there's a lot of links to it, but the content doesn't cater to the mind of the learner, especially the first-time learner. it is not going to be effective. Imagine you are sitting in your class and there's some very well-known professor with a lot of cited paper giving you a very solid textbook and ask you to read. Does it help your mind to learn? I would argue that is not the best way. You would learn by seeing visual, you would learn by seeing video, you would learn by interaction with the real stuff. So that is something that I don't think that the search engine is capable of doing at the moment. Maybe 20 years later when we have like Skynet. Right. So that's why there are Quora, there are Stack Exchange where people are still trading information. And we believe that we can capture not just questions and answers, but also what is existing content on the net and giving them meaningful, human, understandable ratings.
So many parts of this sound promising, actually. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think your unique opportunity is really capture the social nature of these courses and to capture people's discussion, which then could give you a unique source of information that Google doesn't.
I think the one key that you could try and do is let users tag these tutorials, because on Google I could search for, say, a Photoshop tutorial. I could search for very explicit things like masking techniques or distracting a person. And you know very well that often when you go to Google, you're trying to solve an explicit problem as well as getting a general tutorial. So what you want to do is let users see a comparison, not just of beginner type tutorials, but focusing on a specific, like I need to use Python to do something, and then if users can tag all the tutorials in that way, and now you let people search with these tags in mind, then maybe you're getting a bit one up over Google's basic search.
I see. Oh, I see. That's
you're making advantage, right? So instead of having the users just rate by their quality, I think it's key to also rate by what tag that tutorial fit into that could help categorize it for other users.
Okay.
And I would also look outside of the bubble that we live in. I mean, not every learning course needs to be very technical. You don't need to teach people how to use Photoshop, how to use Python to build XYZ, or how to use X to build Y. You can look at the mainstream market. You showed eHow, which is a $1.8 billion kind of market. Think about which users you can bring the most value to, right? Maybe the mainstream users, like maybe for example, how to use an oven, or how to bake a cake, for example, could be tutorials that people really like, and I think eHow has a lot more material over there, right? The frustrating thing is that when you go to eHow, I think it lacks the kind of influence. And if you're trying to build a review system, I think one key thing you really need to think about is how important is identity for your user focus. Because if you think of something like a programming course, do they believe a friend, or do they believe a professor? Do they believe some engineer in Facebook, Google, XYZ? For how to bake a cake, the identity is very important again. Do you believe Mrs. Zuckerberg's ad, or maybe say your own friend's ad, or maybe Martha Stewart's recommendation as important? So you need to think about all those sort of things. Right. And I mean, I see a lot of examples coming from the tech world, but I would say really go outside the bubble and think about who else would have this problem and where can you maximize your impact. Because some of the examples you show your competitors list, like for example Stack Exchange, means that those guys already serve some parts of the audience really well already, right? If you look at Khan Academy, I don't think people are looking to go out of Khan Academy. I don't know, you have to test the hypothesis. To go outside and look at another learning resource, right? So think deeper about which kind of user you really can bring the value of your product to.
Right.
So like another point is I think theoretical, I think this idea is great. I think you need this idea. I think someone is going to get it right. But how to get there is going to be hard. Like I look at this the way I look at Yelp. There are like a million people out there. Like, it's like, oh, it wouldn't be great if we can find a way to let everyone recommend on the restaurant, and we can look at the best rating, and that's a great idea. Right. But only one company or maybe two companies research have done it well enough that it's being adopted by mass people. So how did they win? You should look at how they won. Yeah. right? Go from like a small company
Right.
to this billion-dollar company, and then apply some of the lessons to what you are doing.
Right.
Because he's actually doing the same thing. Like it's a very simple.
We
concept.
actually would like to market ourselves as Yelp for tutorials, but we're not sure whether like this is a good idea to do it. That's why we changed it to a online review site for online learning. I mean, review site for online learning material. Would you think like Yelp for tutorials is a good idea?
There's two schools of thought about whether X for Y, makes sense to investors. I think if you have that as a backup, some people, investors tune out very easily, right? I mean, investors are very, very ADD, so sometimes these kind of stacks really do help, especially if you're going to go on angel list. Like Naval Ravikant loves X for Y kind of analogies, right? I mean, so you should really have that. Yeah, for tutorial sounds good.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much. Can we invite the next team up, booth? Right. He needs the mouse, I think. Yeah. Oh yeah.